Mary, Queen of Scots, was completely smitten with her cousin Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. She described him as the lustiest and best proportioned long man that she had seen. Though they had met before, it was in February of 1565, after Darnley had been formally presented to Mary, that she became infatuated. And just a few months later, on July 22nd, here at St. Giles Cathedral, the banns of marriage were proclaimed for all to hear. That afternoon, Darnley was made Duke of Albany. On July 28th, heralds announced that Darnley would be named King of Scotland. After the wedding, the next day, the couple were wed in Mary's private chapel at Holyrood Palace, and on Monday, the 30th of July, the official title was announced of the royal couple, Henry and Mary, King and Queen of Scotland. John Knox had been the official minister of St. Giles for some 6 years at this time, and strongly disapproved of the union. Darnley had been raised Catholic, but he would often court the idea of Protestantism depending on where he was and who he was around. After he and Mary's marriage ceremony, Darnley even chose not to stay for the nuptial mass. Instead, he left Mary alone and went up to wait for her in her chamber. A few weeks after their marriage, Darnley, now styled King Henry, decided to go to St. Giles to hear John Knox preach. The cathedral, which had been stripped of its stained glass windows, altars, and saints to align with the Protestant beliefs of its worshippers, had now been fitted with a pillared throne for the new king, and Darnley's freshly made coat of arms was hung above the throne. The sermon John Knox preached that day has become infamous. Knox loudly proclaimed of young boys and women being sent to rule as tyrants to plague the people of Scotland. He then went on to compare Mary to the harlot Jezebel. Knox went on and on, making the sermon twice as long as he would normally preach. When the sermon was finished, Darnley stormed out of the church. When he returned to Holyrood, Darnley, angry and offended, refused to eat his dinner. For his actions, John Knox was made to go before the Privy Council. He was to be forbidden to preach while Mary and Darnley were in Edinburgh. The town council, however, refused to prevent him from doing so, and Knox promptly had his sermon printed.